The Boston Celtics once again failed to reach their ceiling after they were eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games versus the Miami Heat. Still, with a ton of young talent on the roster and an emerging superstar in Jason Tatum, they have a lot to look forward to in the future of this franchise. Welcome back, everybody. It's Courtside TV, and today we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum took another huge leap forward this year, and it's a good sign for his development as a player. There are still some questions about inconsistency and stuff like that, and we saw it, in the series against the Heat. He had, I believe it was Game 4 or Game 5, had a very poor first half, didn't score, and then came out and had 28 in the second half. A good turnaround. They didn't end up winning that game, but it was still, an impressive turnaround from him, but he still needs to be able to get more consistent. Sometimes I see him take some ill-advised shots, maybe contested jumpers, things a little too early in the shot clock, but for the most part, I think he makes the right play. Tatum is a very good player. He's still incredibly young, only 22. He's only getting better. I know it's kind of a meme to say, wow, Jason Tatum is only 19, because Celtics fans, said that a bazillion times. But it's true. He's 22 years old, still on his rookie contract, and he is on his way to becoming, potentially top 15, top 10 player in the league. If he can sustain this level of production, he has been really, really good. He's gotten steadily better over this season and, all the years prior. He's just gotten better and better and better as his career has progressed. So Tatum is absolutely an emerging superstar, and he's a guy that can lead your team to a title, and he will be with the Celtics for the foreseeable future. Of course, he has restricted free agency coming up after next season. He will stay with the Celtics, likely for the next decade or so, hopefully, if all goes well according to plan. But they'll do everything they can to keep Tatum, and he is absolutely worthy of max contracts as long as he can continue to keep getting better and stay healthy. He is definitely a great player and a nice piece for the Celtics to build around, so they should be very excited about him. Now, the Celtics' other young star is Jaylen Brown, and I am a big fan of Jaylen Brown's game. I think he's awesome. He's a great shot maker, great defensively. He knows what he's doing, a very high IQ basketball player. He makes winning plays. He's a winning player, and I love Jaylen Brown. I've loved him, throughout his career and in college. I thought he was a great prospect, and he has turned out very well so far, I think. And he signed that big extension on his rookie deal last summer. A lot of people thought it was a little too much, but he absolutely produced this year. He averaged, about 20 points a game this season. Definitely showed that he was worth that amount of money. He is just a 3-and-D player to the max. He's one of the best in the business at doing what he does. And he just, he's still also only 23, just a year older than Tatum. This duo, if the Boston can keep them together, for the next multiple years, and it looks like they will be able to, this duo is absolutely capable of competing for championships, and they will be here, year after year for the next 10 seasons is hopefully, that's what the Celtics are hoping for. And so Jaylen Brown is a great compliment to a guy like Tatum. I love him. I love him off the court as well. He's done some great work in advocating for social justice and being very outspoken about those issues. Jaylen Brown has done some great work there. So I really like him. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. So he is one of those guys that you're definitely going to want to have if you're playing for titles. And so the Celtics are very glad to have him. And the Celtics' big free agent get from last summer, of course, was Kemba Walker. Now, Kemba had sort of an up-and-down season. He struggled with injury at points, and he was kind of up and down in the playoffs. And to be honest, for the most part, I didn't think he played very well, especially in that Heat series. He kind of showed a little bit of his limitation defensively, and he wasn't hitting shots at certain points, kind of looked lost a little bit. And this is really his first big playoff moment, so I'm not going to give him too much criticism for that. But I do think that Kemba did struggle, and I wouldn't put it past the Celtics to look for options to trade him in the offseason. It might be a little early for that, but we know Danny Ainge, he's not afraid to make any deal. And so if there was a deal out there, I would not be surprised if Kemba was traded. I wouldn't bet on it. I'd say it's more likely than not that he ends up or he stays in Boston. But, maybe there's a deal out there, a sleeper trade candidate in Kemba Walker. I don't think that's completely out of the question for the Celtics. But, we know who Kemba is. He's an all-star. I believe he started in the all-star game this year. This is his first time really playing winning basketball. He had a lot of years in Charlotte where he, they made the playoffs like twice maybe while he was there, lost in the first round. So he, this is his first time on this big stage since college. And so Kemba he's kind of working out the kinks a little bit. I think he'll be fine. His game should translate well as he ages. He's still only 30, so he's got, a couple years left of being productive and being in his prime. And so I'm not too worried about Kemba, although I would not be shocked if they traded him. I think he stays with the Celtics. And now looking at the Celtics cap sheet, they basically have the same exact team for next year. The only free agent on the roster is Brad Wanamaker, and he played a little bit of backup point guard for them, was pretty good. I thought he had some good stretches in the playoffs. He got benched a little bit late in that Miami series. But again, he played well, I think, especially against Toronto. He had some big games. And so maybe they'll look to bring him back on a cheap deal. But he's getting up there in age, 31 years old. Maybe they'll look for an upgrade or, look for somebody else on the roster who can fill that backup point guard role. Tremont Waters, Carson Edwards, whoever. So if Wanamaker does leave in free agency, it's not the end of the world. And then other than that, you have Gordon Hayward with his player option. It's been reported that he's going to take it. We don't really need reporting. He's going to take it, $34 million. That's well more than he'll get on the open market. So I would definitely expect Hayward to pick up that option. He is another, a likely trade candidate for Boston this offseason. He's been in a lot of trade rumors. Specifically, one that I've seen over and over again is Hayward to Indiana for a package around Miles Turner, and salary filler. And potentially, I think that would make some sense for both sides. Boston does kind of need a center. I think Turner fits well with what they do. He can shoot threes a little bit, good defensively. I think that would make a little bit of sense. But you don't just want to give up Hayward for, a marginal player. Not that Turner is a marginal player, but Hayward does have some value on his expiring contract. He's not the all-star that he was, that the Celtics expected they were getting. Of course, he has had some struggles due to the major injury that he suffered. But he's not a bad player. He's certainly been good for them, and he showed his impact in this playoff run when he was out with injury and came back. They kind of got a little boost from him being there. He's definitely a nice scorer to have, another third, fourth option. He's good in that role. And so maybe the Celtics do look to trade Hayward. Maybe not, who knows. As an expiring contract, he does have some value if they were to look to acquire another star. Not sure who that guy out there is for them, but in case there is somebody available, Hayward's salary can match for a max level player, or whether that's a Miles Turner deal or for some other center, who knows. But that's always an option. And then Enes Kanter also has a player option there. I would assume that he would take his as well. Maybe he'll opt out, who knows. Either way, he's a bench center for them. Not too big of a deal. And then, past that, I think the other order of business for the Celtics this offseason is to extend Jason Tatum. They can give him an extension on the rookie deal. I expect that they will. Just hand him the max, get that deal done so that you don't have to worry about it. So, Jason Tatum extension, potentially a trade for Gordon Hayward. And then, other than that, basically just run this team back next year. I don't think they need to make drastic changes. They have Coach Brad Stevens, obviously, is solidified in his job, and then just let the young guys continue to get better, and potentially a Hayward trade, I think, are really the only things that the Celtics should consider. And other than that, you should be right back in contention for a finals berth and a title next year. So assuming that they can keep their talent in-house, the Celtics are well set up to be contenders for the next decade plus. They have these young stars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, along with movable contracts. You could potentially flip guys like Gordon Hayward or Kemba Walker, or even Marcus Smart for other pieces, as those players get older, flip them to shuffle up the roster. But as long as you're building around guys like Tatum and Brown, the Celtics are very well set up to be contenders for the next many, many years, and they're honestly in one of the better positions out of any team in the NBA. As for potential targets in the offseason, I think they need to look for potentially another upgraded backup point guard, with Wanamaker being a free agent. Maybe that's a target in the draft, or that's a guy on their roster that can potentially step into that void and fill that backup point guard role, or looking for a guy like that in free agency. They probably do need an upgraded center. Daniel Tice is good, but maybe he's more suited for a bench role, and that's been something that's rumored for a while that Boston's been looking for. And then other than that, I think they're well set up. They got a lot of high quality wings. Of course, with those two young stars that I mentioned, also Hayward and Marcus Smart in that rotation, they've got players there. And then, just a backup for Kemba Walker and just more guys who can shoot, because every team's looking for that. And so Boston, they've got a really good roster. They did fall a little bit short against Miami. I think Miami matched up well against them. It kind of presented some problems for Tatum and the rest of the Celtics roster. But Tatum's only going to get better. He'll learn how to deal with, different types of defenses that teams throw at him. He's getting more and more adjusted to the playoffs every single year. He's been in the Eastern Conference Finals twice in his 3 seasons in the league. He has that playoff experience already at such a young age. And so he's going to get there. I have a lot of confidence in Jason Tatum to, be a top 10 player in the NBA for many, many years to come. And so that's pretty much my thoughts on the Celtics. I think they have one of the brightest futures of any team in the league, and not even just their future, but their present. Their window is open from now for the next multiple seasons. And so as we know that they're capable of making big moves and big trades. Danny Ainge is one of the best GMs in the league. They've got a great coach in Brad Stevens, and so they're set up to be contenders for a long, long time. And so that's pretty much it. And I will see you guys whenever I'm talking about whoever loses in the finals. It's looking right now like it's going to be Miami. Unfortunately, they're down 0-2. Injuries suck. I think we got robbed of a really competitive series. I think it would have been awesome to see the Heat go head-to-head with Dragic and Bam healthy. I don't think it's quite over if those two can come back. But we will have to see how that goes. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next couple days, or whenever Miami or the Lakers loses in the finals, and I'll see you with that video. So that's going to be it for me tonight, and I'll see you guys in the next one.